Hey, Abhi, thanks for having me. I'm Ajin Abraham. I'm a security researcher. I work as a product security engineer for Trend Micro.
Is that the job title, product security engineer?
Yeah, I mean, the title can be security researcher, product security, but pretty much the role or the actual job duty is more like product security.
Where do you work? Where are you based at? Where are you from, and where are you now?
Yeah, I'm from Kerala. I'm from Kannur in Kerala. Now I'm in Montreal, where the Trend's application security team is based out.
Which field are you specializing in? You said information security and product security. Is that what you are specializing in?
Yeah, pretty much into application security research and product security related activities.
What is your story? How did you land in product security? What was the starting point, and how did you reach here?
Long story short, I was pretty much into electronics. I love to do a lot of stuff with respect to hardware, not in terms of IoT as we know today, but more in terms of resistors. If I remember correctly, I had a cousin who is actually doing his diploma in electronics, and I was pretty much around him for most of the time because he actually make cool stuff like make bulbs glow, music flow, things like that. I mean, that pretty much kept me curious. So my initial days, I was more into uh, buying electronic components like ICs, transistors, and all those small components. I mean, even though I don't know a lot of it, a lot of help from him, I used to make. I used to buy a soldering kit for myself. I mean, that was when I was in seventh or sixth, I think, not sure. But yeah, I mean, that's a story. More into electronics, try to build a lot of stuff. Um, at a, I mean, and later at a point, I realized that there is only too little I can do because being a kid who is doing his schools, I don't have much money to spend on this. Also, there is not much parts that are available in Kerala. Like if I was in Bangalore or any other metropolitan, maybe I have more opportunities. But um, for a kid, a school kid at that time, I had like pretty limited availability of hardware and stuff. And then, yeah, I think because of my education and related stuff, my dad got me a computer. Wherein, like most others, I was pretty much into gaming, trying out almost everything that I can find out in internet. Like every free software, I tried to download and install that, and that's how it went forward for a long time. Also, in the meantime, since it's not really a well-built computer, it's a budget computer. It breaks down a lot. So, a couple of it is because of what I do. A couple of the reasons, and I used to try out things to fix them, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. I just try, and sometimes my dad get pissed the fact that I'm opening up the CPU cabinet and doing things that I have no idea of. I get electrocuted once where I try to
Oh,
play with the SMPS, but I never stopped. I kept doing that, and that's how. I mean, kind of my hardware, my ambition or passion towards hardware or electronics, and that move on like that. Um, and at the same time in school, what happened was that we were doing our 8th standard, and we had like C, introduction to C as a syllabus. But the teacher told that it's too boring for kids. You don't feel good about it, or you don't really, find it beneficial by printing some stars in X format or Y format, or maybe multiply two numbers. But what's the fun in that? So instead of C, she was actually a very good programmer. And she actually taught us Visual Basic.NET, which was a GUI programming language at that time. Also FriendPit. I mean, that was quite fascinating for me. The fact that you are pretty much limited in the electronics world because of lack of a lot of components and the money that you have at that time. There is no limitation with computers. It's just code. You can build what you imagine. You can make something that looks like Microsoft Paint or Microsoft Notepad. And that's like really fascinating for a kid. Again, with whatever we were taught at that time, it's not like the knowledge that we had is not enough to build anything more than a fancy looking calculator, maybe. So that's the level of knowledge that we had. then there is also a lot of limitation. Like for academics, you don't need to build something like that, right? But I was really really excited about it. I want to build music players with my own skins that looks like Winamp or similar music players at that time. So what I did was there was something called Planet source code. I mean, not, we can say something like GitHub of that time. So there people actually share a lot of their Visual Basic source code. I go over there, download their code. I mean, 70% of time I cannot even compile them. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. But eventually, with enough trial and error and effort, I managed to run them. And then I tried to grab out the code that I like. I mean, I don't have the knowledge to write that. So I tried to take that particular UI, a couple of code from here and there, try to join them. And I made a lot of things. I mean, it's really funny. I made something what I call as an operating system GUI, which has almost a start menu, the typical application, everything. It's just a VB shell. But that was really, that was really fascinating to do something like that. So along that line, I also had situations where I don't have access to code. And then I figured out something called a .NET disassembler or decompiler that allows you to decompile the code of what people have written, like from the binaries. Probably that's my first introduction to reverse engineering, even before knowing that's actually called reverse engineering. I mean, I use that tool, decompile the source code, and then try to add that logic to what I was building. I mean, morally it might be wrong, but yeah, I mean, I'm just learning, I'm just trying out things. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to do something. So that brings me into programming side. I did a lot of programming there. I tried to reverse engineer a lot of stuff. I also did some web development I have a habit of making notes of what I do, but instead of writing it as notes and forgetting about it, I try to make articles or videos about it. And I used to publish that because I know a little bit of web development at that time. I mean, not really web development, but some HTML, CSS stuff. So with the help of Front Page, I published what I was doing. I wrote a couple of desktop application, and that's how I actually progressed a bit into programming, even before knowing a lot of fundamentals about how stuff works, how it should be written. I mean, most of the things that I write at that time, they were not ideally written. It's just that I hacked a couple of things to make it work. Even today, that's what I do. I hack a couple of things and make it work, even though it's not the most ideal, like stable or scalable stuff. But yeah, I mean, eventually I moved into a lot of stuff similar to that, along that line, that give into that actually, mostly it's around my curiosity. What if I do this? What if I do that? How can I make it behave like that? So mostly around that, I moved into it. I used Google and whatever that was available at that time, and then eventually slided into the field of information security, not knowingly, but this curiosity landed me there. And yeah, I mean, I'm still learning a lot, I would say. So that's kind of like, from what I can remember, this is how I actually ended up in information security.
That's a nice story, starting from electronics, moving on slowly to coding, then into disassembling, then to the vast major field of information security. Talking about that hacking together things part, that is one of the things that I really loved seeing in you. I have been following your work for a long time. I think from your college days itself, you started going to conferences, started publishing research papers, tools, and conference talks. Then one thing I really loved is that it's a big. These solutions are not small solutions; these are big solutions. Say, I have used your tool Xenotix, which is for finding and exploiting cross-site scripting issues. And on the other end, you have MobSF, which is for testing mobile applications. Then you have OpsecX, which is a training for people. So the solutions you build, the creativity in it, that is really amazing. Also the tool Node.js Scan. I recently heard that you are not just developing something and letting it go. Like a few days ago, you presented something about using SemGrep, which is a new trend in information security. So you are starting using that as your core rule engine for making the reducing false positives. So that is great. And that makes me thinking, you are so good in bringing these new ideas and solutions. So what if you were not in InfoSec, or what if you were not in IT? What will you do? I want both the answers. What if you are going outside InfoSec, or what if you are going outside IT? What will you do?
If it was not for IT, that it would have been for electronics. I would have found my way out and did something on that line. But generally speaking, I mean, I don't know how I can express it, but it's more like if I like something, if I really want to do something, I don't really care about anything else in the world. Like nothing matters to me. I just fight really, really hard to get there. That is something that keeps me motivated. That's something that helps me to achieve a lot of things. I think InfoSec is just one of that example. I don't really.
Car racing is the another? Car racing or bike racing?
That's just something that came in along the lane. I mean, that's not something that was there. It was just an opportunity that I get at this time, which I don't have like 2 years or 5 years back. So I just do that. I mean, it's more about a recreational hobby, and I really like doing that. But professionally speaking, no. To me, I'm not sure. I mean, generally speaking, it's more like if I really like something, which I don't know right now, other than like InfoSec or electronics, but if I had something at that point, I would definitely like spend a lot of time, put a lot of effort to make sure that it works for me professionally. But I don't really have anything to like. Nothing comes up to my mind other than for electronics.
So, like I said, I have been seeing you publishing tools, papers, and conferences, and you said something about papers that instead of making notes, you actually make, yeah, the cell notes you make are actually papers. So, could you please walk us through the tools you build and your conference journey, all those type of activities?
I think the first conference or security meet that I did was, if I remember correctly, it was DEFCON Bangalore. Like at that point of time, I have no idea what the community is. I never spoke with anyone. I'm not really introvert in a sense. Once I get to know people, I talk a lot. That they ask me to shut up. But if I don't know people, I don't normally like interact with them. I don't normally try to mingle a lot. That and barrier of entry is always there with me, and I sometimes I keep that in a sense that that's actually good. I mean, you don't really need to talk too much. The more you talk, it's not good.
Talk
So
is cheap.
yeah. So I think during my college days, like I said, I was doing a lot of stuff in programming. Then I was looking at like at that particular time, XSS was like one of the cheap thing that you could easily jump in, considering how easy it is to exploit that and how common it was. So I was looking into some of the tools that were available at that time. There were a lot of command line tools available at that time, which were not really user friendly, at least for a person who actually have no idea how to run a command or maybe have trouble executing or compiling a C program. That was not really very user friendly. I mean, I'm sure that there were people like me at that time who find it very difficult to deal with command line interface, because even from college, you never started in command line interface. It's always Windows XP or Windows 98, and you always have the UI GUI part there. You really pretty much kind of never used maybe command prompt for once or twice to run something that you have no idea of. So you never get that feeling of running command line tools like we get in the Linux world. Once you start working on it professionally, them on, you really don't need a GUI. But at that time, you don't have access to those. So even for a person who actually want to enter into the industry, lack of GUI tools is a big thing. That's a big turn down. Like he have no idea what to run, what commands to give, how to even troubleshoot if you see an exception, how to fix it. Even today, people don't know that. So at that time, I was looking into cross-site scripting, and I found a lot of command line tools that do very simple things. And I also learned a lot more about it to understand what is it, how it works, what is actually the basic fundamentals behind it. Something that at that point I realized that if you want to do something correctly, you need to go dig deep, go to the roots, and then do it from there. If you do take shortcuts, you will end up like everyone else. You know the thing, but you don't know it enough to like give a final verdict on what exactly it feels like, what exactly it looks like. I mean, you can talk about it, but that's it. You act at a higher abstraction, like everyone else, not just you. Everyone else know that. So at that time, I actually researched. I wouldn't say research. I just looked into a lot of articles, information that's available at that time, how people were using it for their benefit, etc. And then I found out that the most efficient way to find cross-site scripting, for example, is to do it inside the process where the actual script get executed. You can do it at Python, you can do it at your programming language level, and then try to figure out whether there's an access. That does not give you a guarantee that it works inside a browser. So the first thing that came into my mind was, yeah, there are three commonly used browsers. There is Firefox, there is Chrome, there is Internet Explorer. Why not have the engines of these and then try to execute the payload inside of that? So that was one nice idea. Also, in a sense, it looks really nice. Like you have the blue Internet Explorer, the orange Firefox, the green Chrome, I think at that time. So you have that UI, and being a web development background and programming guy, I really like creating things like that. So it initially started as a dumb browser that has a list of lots of payloads, and it just directly execute these payloads inside these different browser engines. And I always ensure that all the results are zero false positive guarantee, because it runs inside a browser. There is no way to have a false positive in generic sense. I did that. I worked a lot. I mean, it was too much for what I know at that time, but eventually it worked out. Spent a couple of years. I think around 1.5 years I spent on that, even to get the basic thing working. Then I looked into the capabilities of how you can exploit, how you can fool people into exploiting stuff. And at that time, I think Metasploit was getting really good, really good appreciation from the community. People were using, talking loudly about it. That all really inspired me. And there were like tools like Beef that it was available at that time, which was like pretty really good, I would say, which has a lot of developers working on it. I mean, for me, I was just a college student at that time. But then, yeah, I mean, I made something. Now I need to talk about it. I tried to create some YouTube videos. Not really worked out at that time. It was not really a big thing. I mean, 1 or 2 views, and that's it. I really want to talk about it. I really want people to use it. I mean, I don't really find a way that make people to use it, because I have a Facebook page, or I have like a LinkedIn. I don't even have a LinkedIn profile, but something around that line. I mean, I tried sharing things there. There are some people who are actually like-minded. They try to try it out, and that's it. I mean, at least it was very easy for people to try it out. Just double click, you have everything there. And I also created videos on how to use them. I just wanted people to try it and give me a feedback. That's when I try to understand what the community is like, what people are doing, how people are doing it, what is this industry about, what other people are doing who actually have tools, or what other people are doing. So I looked into it. I found that there are things called conferences or meetups where people go and talk about this stuff. I never really am a guy who's comfortable speaking in front of people I don't know. I never do that. And but my schooling really helped me out. I went into a school where I have no idea who these people are. Like I changed the school. So somehow that fear actually went away from me. Anyway, I don't know these people. So they can not have prejudice against me. I mean, they can have from now if I do it wrongly, but otherwise I don't know these people. So let's give a shot. And the schooling time, I try to do a lot of talking, like trying to give this Tangu sessions and meetings and stuff like that, or give the introduction of different people who actually come there. I really enjoy doing that, not because I really like it, but I just want to go over my fear of speaking to people in public. I mean, all these things really influence. So I submitted the proposal to one of the meets available at that time, DEFCON Bangalore. There was a local chapter of DEFCON. I went there. I was literally shivering. I mean, I don't know if I'm trying to talk something that people already know, or something that they think is nothing. I really don't know like what the level of people who are actually there, what their knowledge is. But luckily that went really well. People really liked it. I mean, people started writing blogs about it. People talked a lot about it. That gave me confidence to submit it to some of the well-known. I mean, I met a couple of people who actually told me that, yeah, there is things like Club Hack, there is things like Cocoon, Nalcon happening around India. You should probably submit them. So I submitted to those, and I got selected in a couple of them. Not all of them, but a couple of them. At that time, I think Club Hack, Nalcon, I got selected there. With this new confidence that I got from this small meet, I went there and presented, and I never looked back. I kind of get a knack there. Then I also get opportunity to speak at some conferences outside India. So the first conference I spoke outside India was HOVAST AppSec in South Korea. Again, I'm a student. It's expensive. They don't cover the fees. So my college actually helped me out. College actually spent half of the money, took half of the money. The rest my dad took. So with this help, I went there. Then I came back, spoke at Nalcon, and then there I met some person, an ex-military man called Banerjee. He really liked what I was doing. I told him that I also got accepted for BlackHat Europe, but I don't have the means to go there. In a sense, I mean, I could do that, but that put too much effort on my dad. My brothers are learning, so I don't want to do that. He told that you come to New Delhi, let's figure it out. So he works very closely with one businessman who runs a company called eSec40 in New Delhi. So I went with them, I spoke with them. My chances were really low. I mean, I have like 2 days or 3 days to go to BlackHat Europe. I don't even have the visa. They told that there is no way you're going to get the visa. We went to it was a journey. I mean, we went to the embassy. We actually did the application. In 1 day, I got visa, and then the next day I went to Europe. So there's a lot of things to it, but yeah, I mean, looking back, I was lucky.
When you walk me through, these are things that I can really relate. I have seen this journey happening, right? So the tool was the beauty, Xenotix. 3 browser engines, different colors. I used to look at it and say, hey, this is not just a, back in that time, you had backtrack Linux, right? And all the tools are, like you said, command line. And there are hardly any people who designs GUI. And even when you do that, like having that beauty, that was really amazing. And it was super hit. And yeah, going to conferences, yeah, it's an expensive journey, and I'm really happy that you were able to cross all the hurdles and were able to reach people. That's the important thing, right? You can write thousands of tools, but if no one is hearing about it, then it's of no use. So that's really great. What is inspiring you to do this? I know when you like some subject, you really want to work on it. Say when you work on something, is that the journey that is inspiring you, like working on or building some tools or solutions, or the final outcome, or it is something else? Do you have something else you look forward to? What is that making you tick, making you going?
What really inspires me is the knowledge or the fact that I'm actually at the tip of iceberg. There is a lot to it. It's nothing Jon Snow is what comes to my mind. Like there is a lot to it. There's only too little that you can learn during a time with what you have, like your physical capabilities, your brain capabilities, or whatever it is, or your IQ. At least for me. So there is a lot that's there to learn. What you know is only a bit of it that actually push you forward to learn a lot more. So I would say that the fact that you only know very limited things, there is more to it. You need to work hard to get there. Even if you get there, there is still more to it. So that keeps me motivated. Like whatever I'm working on, at the end of the day, I know that, yeah, there are things I don't know. I mean, I don't like that feeling. I need to know more. I need to be a master of it, even though that's technically impossible for any subject. I really try hard to go there. So I think that's what inspires me, that when I like something, the fact that I don't know a lot about it is that the thing or the feeling that keeps me work hard or work more towards it, to achieve something very similar to perfection. I mean, there is no perfection, but yeah, I mean, urging or moving towards that line. But yeah, that's it.
So you are enjoying the thrill of that chase, right? Getting
Yeah.
to know more.
Yeah, and also one thing I would like to add is that you can, I mean, at least for me, I cannot really enjoy something until unless I fail first. So if I'm lucky and I'm successful, that's it. Yeah, I'm happy, and end of the day, on the next day I look upon something else. But if I'm failing like consistently, like 70 or 80% of time, and you actually get the winning on the 30% of attempts, the joy that you get there, you won't get that if you win it at the first place. You feel like you earned it. You worked really hard to reach there, even if it's very simple thing. But that feeling, that is a really good feeling.
That I can completely agree. Yeah, that joy is amazing.
Yeah.
The There is a general idea or framework of where, say, like in Kerala, we have a general tendency to go and follow the framework. Say, if you are a college student in Kerala, the general path for you is to complete your college, get into some company, start working there, and or you complete your college, write some PSC or some UPSC examinations, get into some organizations and work there. And that is your ultimate goal. And you decided to deviate from that and create your own world. So that is really inspiring. Do you have any tips or recommendations for people who are ready to break that framework, who wants to create their own world? You traveled down that path, so I'm sure people will appreciate getting general tips or recommendations from you on that front.
As a matter of fact, I don't really think it's very special. It's just that it's just anything that everyone else could have done in my place. It's nothing, there's nothing special about it. If you really like something, you will definitely work hard on it and you get there. There is no point to it. They don't really need tips. Those people who actually reach there or who are planning to reach there, it's in them. You don't really need tip or inspiration from somebody else. And I am a person who actually never really take, I appreciate what people have done. I really admire their work, but I don't really get inspired from people, from what they say. I mean, I really like good quotes there, but I don't really get inspired. Inspiration should have come from within. Like if you really like something, you will really work for it. It does not matter. Like money is not a matter. Your the situation is not a matter. The circumstances is not a matter. If you have the interest, you will, like, it's a universal truth. I mean, if you have the interest, you will definitely reach there. There is nothing that's actually preventing you from not achieving what you want to do. So I mean, I don't even like, I don't really have to tell anything around that line. Like if you really like something, if you really want to achieve something, you will find out ways and you will reach there. You don't need inspiration from me or any other thought speakers. You don't need it. It comes from within. Like if you have that interest in you, it will unveil and it will help you to reach what you're actually looking for. You don't really need motivation from anyone. Is what
Sure.
I would say.
Okay, we are moving to the final question of the day. Before moving to that, thanks a lot for joining with us today and for all sharing all the interesting stories with us. So the final question is, do you have any message or news or anything for the audience?
Be humble, be kind. Sometimes you really can't do it. I mean, it's human to be like that, but try your best to be humble and kind. Also, something I would like to tell people is that before you ask something to people about, like, ask for help, try your best. Like, you shouldn't really ask people for help or support or anything along that line without trying. the joy that you get by learning something by yourself is much more satisfying than learning something that somebody else tells you. So please try from your side, like really put effort on what you want to understand. So give your heart into it, try everything that you can, and then if you're really stuck, speak to people, look out for help. Otherwise, I would say that work hard, you know, have patience. Apna time aayega.